So I am super thrilled to have Jennifer Seeno Tucker on with us today. She is a Rockstar realtor, but also a coach and a trainer and an author. And she is the associate broker and vice president of education and agent development at Exit Realty. So super excited to have you on, Jennifer. And love that you are giving education to agents when they need it most during this pandemic.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here as a guest on your show. Yeah, during the pandemic, I think, but most of us did was double down on our education and see how we could shift from being, on the pavement and how we can kind of go virtual. And I was glad to have the opportunity to show some local agents here in New York of how we can make that happen together.
So you have a really interesting background. We were talking a little bit before the program. Not only, a lot of people get in the industry and then they kind of gravitate towards maybe being a speaker or doing some coaching, but you actually have a background in education, which is kind of unusual among speakers and among authors and things like that in the industry. So you have not only a bachelor's, but a master's in education, and you actually were a teacher. So what an interesting background. I have to ask, does that translate into like when you're talking to buyers and sellers, do you find yourself being an educator?
Yes. Initially, when I began in real estate, I saw how, you would question students to think in a higher level executive functioning
Hmm.
um, kind of way. And I was doing that by asking all those WH questions: who, what, where, when, how, why, with my buyers and sellers. And I just took what I knew from education and brought it into now real estate. So that was the first way that I saw it translate. The second way was, since I have a master's in education and I created curriculums for, schools and administrators and making it work that way, it was natural for me to fall into that trainer role within our brokerage, because I'm the one who ultimately created, this 7 Saturdays success program to train the agents locally as well.
So I'd love to get to kind of dive in because you got some really interesting topics. So one of the topics that really caught my eye in bringing you on to this program was this concept, and I'm really interested about your 7 Saturdays too. But this concept of 9 ways to get in front of your prospects. I'd love to hear that because one of the biggest challenges people have is lead generation. They always do. So
Yeah.
what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, well, first, just to predicate that would be like, there were basically three roles or three major things that we do, right? Lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. And it all becomes kind of this numbers game. And my lead generation in those 9 ways are really kind of I would say, again, utilizing the background and what you know who to be. So I was able to really network and take that to another level, where I created relationships with like-minded business people in a BNI group and a BNG group, where we just kind of grew that way. So that's one of the ways that I really promote, and I think newer agents really need to get their feet wet and dive into, and not be so afraid, because I know a lot of us, tend to be hesitant and shy. And I realized that if I became and surrounded myself more like people who were better than me at the
Mhm.
time, right? Then I just grew as well.
So when you're saying BNI, and BNG, these are business networking groups. Have you seen them? Are you still seeing them meeting like virtually now as opposed to just in person?
Yeah, I still meet with my BNG group virtually once every every Tuesday per month. So yeah, we're definitely meeting virtually, and I'm connecting with investors through a virtual group as well, an investor group. So that's been pretty beneficial too.
Love it. So that's one of the 9 ways. Love to hear some more ideas.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you really want to, I'm a little hybrid of old school and new school, where I still teach agents that door knocking is a good way to do it.
Hmm.
And it just becomes another awareness method for you to be in that neighborhood.
Sure.
And I don't door knock myself any longer, but I will go out there with agents and do it. And to me, that's a way for new agents, because it takes marketing money to kind of build you up and to really brand yourself. When we're new, we don't have that. I saw door knocking as a way for me to leverage my time for money, and I
Hmm.
was willing to put in that footwork that it took.
The time it took. And so when you're door knocking, are you door knocking around new listings, open houses, just sold, just pinned it, or what's the focus?
Me particular, I chose the door knock, and I think all those methods would work. To be
Hmm.
honest with you, we always see like another listing come up when two others are on the same block, right?
Yeah.
Um, I chose to farm a neighborhood and door knock that neighborhood as well.
Gotcha. I love it. I love farming. So one of the things that when you talk about education that we're focusing on our with our coaching is educational marketing and looking at how do you attract people in and so that they're coming to you rather than you going to them kind of situation. Is that something that's like on your agenda on your training is like educational marketing?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, because a lot of people see us as that still kind of slimy car salesperson, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for all the car salespeople out there, but that's just the stereotype that's there. But when we come from a different space where we're trying to create the relationship and stop focusing on the transaction, and we're able to build. And the word I always use and to tell new agents is to start helping your FISBOs, start
Hmm.
giving out more so that you're going to be able to attract even more into your business. So when we give, we're definitely going to receive. And the help word, even when we do some cold calling with the FISBOs, it's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that your pictures are not helping, but I have someone that could definitely help you market the property.
I love that. Your pictures are not helping. And isn't that so true with some FISBOs?
Yes.
Um, so what do you when you talk about I know you have this concept of authentic outcomes. So what does it mean to have an authentic outcome for your real estate career?
Oh, that's a good one. And it really is personal to you and your morals and values, and where that really generates. It really is kind of like that why. You really have to figure out your why in order to figure out your outcome. So why am I in the business? Why do I want to help people? What makes sense for me so I can still have this real estate work life, family life balance. So your authentic outcomes are really what you want to achieve. For me, it was a matter of creating my own life book.
Hmm.
And I followed two coaches who kind of guided me in this creating a book of what life I want to live, what that
Mm,
looks like, what that feels like, and involve all my senses into this life book where I could see where I wanted to go and what I was heading towards.
I love it. And one thing that, we just came out of our business planning sessions. A lot of people, took time in December and in January to build their business plan. But one thing I think that comes before business planning for a lot of people, or it should anyway, is having a life plan. Because a lot of times you build a business plan that doesn't serve your life plan, and then you get trapped in a life that you don't like because you have this business that's kind of this monster. So I love your concept of, let's start with what's the outcome that we want, and then build around that. I think that's a really good
Yeah,
question.
I mean, I think we have to be realistic. Like a lot of agents come in as part-time, right? And
Yeah.
how can we live this the lifestyle that we envision if we're not surrounding ourselves with the appropriate tools either, or having the consistent and persistent behavior in real estate. And it's okay as long as you know what your outcome is, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's approach is going to be different too.
So when you talk to new agents, like people just getting licensed, and they want to build a farm of prospects, what's your recommendations? What's the marketing strategies do you recommend for them?
To build the farm, I'm more of a proponent of hanging out with more experienced agents and become more of a mentor or find a coach. Really, I think the coaching is really a way to go. Early in my career, I recognized that I didn't have all this. I had knowledge in real estate. I knew what to do, but I couldn't, shift and change and move like I could on the basketball court back in the day. But I couldn't shift with the people in front of me, and I couldn't find how to navigate it. So finding the coach who would give me the tools I needed, I think is really a new agent's first approach. And I know new agents get scared because, oh no, I have to come out with X out of my pocket. And
Right.
am I ever going to see that? Yet I try to make them understand or help them understand that it's an investment in your business. You're not
Hmm.
just an agent. If you approach the business that you're an agent, you're still just receiving a paycheck. It's just a commission check, right? When it comes in. But when we change our mindset that this is a business and I'm the CEO and I need to brand me, then it's a little bit easier to speak to a coach and kind of hand over your credit card.
I think one thing, and I think one issue I have with people sometimes that come to me for coaching is exactly that. They're like, I don't know if I can afford coaching. And being somebody that has paid for tens of thousands, maybe $100,000 in coaching myself over the years, I've never had a situation where I've looked back at coaching and said, that was a complete waste of money and I didn't get a return on investment. Yes, some will be better than others. Always, some coaches are better than others, but you always learn and grow. And a lot of times it's not necessarily about the coach necessarily as much as it is about you being accountable to someone. And I always liken it to my wife, got me for my birthday, a ticket to a nutritionist. So now I have to get on a scale every week. And I know that I'm supposed to eat right. I know I'm supposed to exercise, but looking down at that scale every week, that's the ultimate. I think that's what coaching does for us. It's a scale. It's a way for us to measure performance in a lot of ways.
Right. And a lot of time, you might not see that growth right in the immediate, but it's the
Right.
consistent persistence and the momentum. I try to instill that a lot as well, that you're creating momentum,
Yeah.
right? You have to think of, if we're going up and down these hills, we're not going to be able to get there faster. We're really climbing and then descending. It just becomes a repetitive cycle and you stay in that pattern. But if you keep making smaller increments to climb up the hill, it's going to happen. Create the momentum and the rest will fall into place.
So as a teacher, I mean, you came to your teaching job with, a lesson plan every day. And so when you talk about real estate and having the importance of having a plan of attack for your day and having like airtight systems for your business, how important is that for you coming into this industry or for anybody coming into the industry?
It took me some time to realize that I needed to be have a system, right? Or have more of a, what I teach is block planning your day so that you understand what you're doing and what's going to happen at every specific hour. I didn't realize that until I started growing, and then my business kind of downshifted a little, and I'm
Mm,
like, oh, what happened? I really didn't have a plan, and I was more of this reactive agent. The phone would ring and I would pick it up and they would say, I'm here at the house, and I would run to it.
yeah.
But having more of this plan and the systems like you speak of was really kind of a way for me to catapult and move forward. It's also allowed me as well to stay more in contact with the people who want to do business with me in the immediate, as opposed to, maybe 3 to 6 months out too.
So obviously you probably coach people to use CRM. Is there a specific CRM system that you recommend?
I'm not a huge CRM girl, to be honest with you,
Okay.
Ken,
Okay.
but right now I'm using Trello to
Uh-huh.
kind of keep up, and I love the boards. I think it's a great application and it's free, which is always for everyone, right? So it really is a great system, and it keeps me. And I don't have, again, I'm like this hybrid person. I have like a hybrid team where I'm more of a mentor to those who, my partners, I would say, who are more next to me than below me, as a team, in a team kind of position. But we use the Trello board in order to stay on contact with our leads and our deals.
So Trello is so dynamic in that so many different people use Trello for so many different things. I think a
Mhm.
lot of people use Trello for systemization in their business and checklists in their business, and other people like you are using it more for following up and keeping track of specific clients. And it is definitely very adaptable.
My life
So
partner and I have been using it for our household, so
there you go.
so
You can use
it
it for
does.
anything.
definitely multiple applications that you can use it on, and it works. So we're even in our relationship at home, and it's just very systematic that we have things in place.
I love it. So when you are coaching people and training people, one of the concepts coming into a new year is we always talk about, looking at who your clients were last year and who the clients you want to work with in the coming year. How do those clients look, right? So I know you have this concept of talking about your ideal client model or your ideal client.
Mhm.
How do you define that? How do you build that out?
How do I define my ideal client? They
Yeah.
would
Or
really, well, they're homeowners. It's that simple. They already have the product,
yeah.
right? They have the product, and I want to be the mediator in between who kind of makes it happen for them. Those, I mean, sellers are your ideal clients, so I'm going to hit up on them as much as I can. I do like to cold call, and I have to cold call, and as I said, farm the area. So your ideal client is really going to be the one that is attracted to you as well. It's not going to feel forced. It's
Hmm.
going to be very natural for you to connect with them. And that's where kind of the DISC personality profiling, I use more of a science approach to kind of um, uh, name people, so to speak, as to what their personality profile is, so that I'm able to change my personality in an instant to match theirs. Because as salespeople, we all know that they're going to buy from us because they like us. So I want to
Right.
be more like them in order to adapt and change.
I'm curious because, a lot of agents talk about doing farming, but then don't actually like truly implement. And I'm curious, how did you choose the farm area that you were going to work? I'm curious.
It's the neighborhood I grew up in.
Okay, well that makes it easy.
Yeah, I mean, I chose the farm because I knew I belonged to a local club, and I still stayed in contact with a lot of those people. So I had relationships there. So I want to establish even more where they can tell their neighbors and friends, oh, did you see my friend's card, the real estate agent's card who came in the mail? And oh yeah, she knocked on my door, and oh yeah, she called me the other day. Think so. I just took 500 and kind of grew out from there.
Wow, 500 is a lot. So when you are, let's say we have a new agent we're training and we say, okay, the best probably neighborhood to target is generally, I agree with you, probably where you live or where you grew up or somewhere you're
Yeah.
familiar with, right? And you identify with it. What does that look like for you? Does that mean did you go in and knock every door? Do you do mailings? Do you do calling into that? Is it a mix of all those things?
I take those 500 houses and it's a mix of those things. I've never, ever, rarely been in contact with the same person twice in over 3 years that I've been kind of doing this. So it's 500. It started out as 50. I'll be honest with you. When I first started, again, marketing money wasn't there, and I needed to put chicken on the table for my daughter and I, which soon became to be steak. I'm happy to say.
Nice,
But
congrats.
so I started out with just 50 houses. I mean, that's what I could do. And
Right.
and the rest, again, I door knock. But yeah, I mean, keeping everything centered and close to my office, and it was still the neighborhood that I lived, worked, and played in. That's kind of where it happened. But for newer agents, I tell them 50 is fine, 25 is fine. You're
Hmm.
creating the momentum.
Yeah. And you are, I failed to mention this in the beginning, but you are an absolute award winner with Exit. You've achieved numerous sales awards, so you've done extremely well.
Mhm.
I'm curious and here's the fear point I think with most agents is when we say go knock on 25 doors or 50 doors, is what exactly do you say? So how do you approach that conversation? What do you say?
Yeah, so I just kind of go over the script with them where we knock on the door and say, hi, I'm Jennifer, your local real estate agent in the neighborhood. I was just passing by and didn't know if there's anything I could do to help you out regarding real estate today. They typically say no,
Yeah.
right? And it kind of looks like, oh, I totally understand. Were you thinking of moving anytime soon? And again, they'll probably say no.
Right.
And again, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, but where did you move from?
Mm-hmm.
How long ago was that?
Yeah.
And if you were to move, where would you move to?
Gotcha.
Those three questions serve as the buffer for my next follow-up question, which is they ask where they move to, and let's say they say Florida. Oh, so when do you plan on moving to Florida? So now now I go back to a time frame,
Right.
right? and they're kind of off guard at that time because of those 3 buffer questions.
Yeah.
And they'll probably say in about 6 months. So now I have a time frame. Oh, can we stay in contact? I'd love to be able to provide you with an instant, market analysis. And it's just a follow-up question, and it leads to getting contact information.
And building your sphere of influence, right? That's what it's all about. I think for a lot of agents, that's the biggest struggle is I got to grow my sphere. How do I do it? This is one way you can do that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's definitely growth, and their awareness, door knocking, farming, code calling. These are all awareness methods, right? And it becomes obviously this numbers game, right? How many doors do I knock on before I actually get an appointment? It's all the numbers game in order for you to keep growing.
Now, for you, when you were growing, and doing what you're doing, would you also then begin mailing to these people after your initial contact?
Yeah, so they became, if I always went for an email address as opposed, because I already had their physical mailing address, right? So I always went for like an email address, and I just kept them on this drip campaign. I would send a weekly report about what was going on in the market, report about what was happening in the market, and 2 things probably about what's happening in local events, and just kind of give them stats and numbers. I attract people who like numbers, and are really more like me, investors and builders and accountants for some reason, and police officers. They seem to be attracted to me. Very calculated and organized, kind of people.
Yeah.
And I just kept sending these reports, and that was again another awareness method that I could keep sending to my sphere.
So that's an interesting frequency. So that's every week they're getting something from you.
Right, correct.
And would you also do physical mail or just the email?
A physical mail. They were on the farm at that time, so I would add another address to the farm in order for them to get my card too.
Okay. And how often did you send out the card?
Once a month.
Oh, once a month. So 4 times a month they're getting an email. If you had conversation, you got their email, and then once a month they're getting a card from you on top of that.
Correct.
And then on top of that, at some point you're meeting them, hopefully by having some conversation, or maybe calling them on the phone, right?
Right. And science says that people don't recognize you until the 9th time that they see you. So another awareness method was, and it was expensive, but my name up on, a bus stop shelter or something like that. It just became this kind of rhythmic kind of movement in order for me to market and brand myself appropriately.
What was your success with that? I mean, what were you find in terms of numbers behind that?
Yeah, but I couldn't give you a measurable number at this time, but I could tell you that the more people I saw face to face, the better it was in building the relationship, and making that contact, and having maybe them list their home in the future.
Love it. And now have you grown that, or are you still doing the same 500?
I've grown a little bit. I think 500 is enough.
That's a lot. I mean, that's a huge number to me.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, a little bit here and there, but not much from that. I want to say we're doing it about, since I have my partners next to me, we're probably looking more at about like 750 at this point that we're farming.
Gotcha. So in terms of your sphere of influence and kind of contacting them and just in general, do you find that social media is becoming a bigger part of your strategy?
Yeah, a little bit. I wouldn't say it's becoming more and more of an awareness method again for me. And I'm not looking to sell on the spot through social media. I have taken out Facebook ads and things like that. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of coaches will tell you, right, that you need to be on all these platforms. And I can't manage that, right? And I don't want to manage that. my people that I attract are on Facebook, and I
Yeah.
choose Facebook to be my kind of social media awareness method. For me to go on TikTok and to post a video, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, me neither.
But I am shifting more. I am shifting more to media. My one of my new marketing strategies this year is to have a YouTube series
Hmm.
to help sellers get their home ready for sale.
So more of an educational series. That's interesting. I love that.
Yes.
And how many videos do you see that being? If you
They're gonna. I'm working with a marketing person where we do 6 for the year.
6 for the year. I love it. And those are evergreen. So you film them once and they're good forever, right? So that's
Right.
exciting.
They'll be up on Facebook, my YouTube channel, right? So that they're always there so that I could use them as well.
In terms of Facebook, how often are you posting? I'm just curious because this is a big question mark for everybody is do I post every day? Do you post video? Do you post on stories? Or what's your mix?
So I try to post every day. It doesn't always happen that way.
Sure.
I'm a big proponent of video over picture over just like typing in, something.
Yeah.
So video first and then a post with you in it, more me, right? With
Yeah.
me in it, and then maybe some kind of blurb last.
How many videos are you putting out a week on social?
Videos, I would say 3.
3 a week. Wow. So that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just a walkthrough video, I've done about 40 podcasts as well, so that's been helping so that I can help agents too. So yeah, I would say about 3 a week. I just even if it's just something easy and simple. Newer agents overthink things, right? I have to
Mhm.
get it perfect. I have to get it perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just put it
Right.
out there.
Right. Right.
Right.
And do you get a lot of engagement? People say talking about your videos and engaging?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they engage more with the videos. That's what I'm noticing. I'm sure a lot of other agents are too. So that's why I say video over picture, and then, and anything else that you want to post. And I try to post like 2 puppy dog posts and then a sales kind of post as well.
Hmm. Got it. And in terms of marketing your homes for 2021, because homes sell so fast now, how do you approach marketing of a home?
Marketing marketing this because the market is so fast and hot right now. It's so quick. It's like, okay, schedule the pictures, get the video, and put it out on the MLS, right?
Right.
And that's how fast it happens. And then your phone's ringing because another agent has a buyer that wants to see it. I mean, it's happening that fast.
Right.
My marketing plan is really chosen though by the seller.
Mm.
So I have broken my commission down into 3 parts where they ultimately choose the marketing plan that they want to go with as well.
Oh, I love it. So you have a tiered approach based on the marketing?
Yeah, I offer a silver, gold, and platinum package.
Love it.
And basically, this is what I do for the platinum, this is what I do for gold, and this is what I do for silver. Obviously, it's like you said, tiered. So everything in silver is in gold plus some, and
Yeah.
everything in the platinum is gold plus some.
So I'm curious, I'm going to guess, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Do most people choose gold?
Yes, they do.
So this is really interesting because we teach this whole commission conversation strategy where we talk about, no price fixing here, but in my market, it's typical that you're going to have a conversation between somewhere in 5 and 7%. Right. And so we coach people to say, well, you get to choose, you can choose between 5 and 7%. And guess where everybody chooses? 6%.
Of course,
Right in the middle. Right in the
right?
middle. Right. So
So we're a little higher end here. Our average sale price in my market is about 550.
uh-huh.
So we're more of and to stay competitive, 4, 5, and 6%.
Got it.
I have been thinking though, and I'll be honest, and as a coach, maybe you can help me, of changing it to more of like a 2, 3, and 4, and then asking, well, what do you want to pay the other agent?
Right. Right.
So
Well,
that
the reverse of that is you say, well, what we offer the buyer's agents in the market is 2.5 or 3%. You pick the number, right? And then we just got to decide what fee I'm going to be charging you on the listing side. It's either 2, 3, or 4%, right?
right.
And so you could go that other way. But here's a great idea in terms of determining what you're offering buyer's agents, which I learned from one of my top agents, Adam McGrew. He does a commission survey. So he does a pin in the map of where the listing is. He goes out like a mile. He looks at every sold property that's sold in the last 6 months, and he looks at what the buyer's agents were being offered. And so he can say, this one was 2.5, this was 3, and he shows everybody what was being paid. And 9 times out of 10, the higher the commission, the faster those properties sold him for more money. And so he
Correct.
can actually demonstrate that. So that's kind of another conversation
Yeah,
around
we're
that as
about
well.
1.5 to 2%
On the
as a
buyer side.
buyer on the buyer side, as a
Yeah.
buyer's agent. So, and my approach even as a buyer's agent is the difference between 1.5 and 2% is really not that big. Let's kind of like, make it
Set that
happen
aside.
so that
Yeah.
the buyer can, we can figure this out with the buyer.
Sure. Sure. So going into 2021 with your coaching students, what's your number one recommendation for them?
For 2021 is we're getting ready more for 2022, what that's going to
I
look like.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't think the market's going to change much, right? And
Yeah.
we've actually seen our market shrink in half. We went from about 100 listings on when we finished 2020 to now. I mean, it's only a month, but in the last 3 months, we've seen it come down to about 48 to 51
Mm,
homes on the market. So there really has been this absorption rate that has happened rather quickly. So actually, at our office meeting, I'm like, we have to get out there and prospect and to really double down on our marketing, right? We've got to get
mhm.
out there and really kind of hit the pavement, so to speak. And I mean literally get out there and hit the pavement. So what I'm telling my newer agents is I think we'll be okay 2021, but for 2022, I think that's when we're going to be in this kind of short sale and foreclosure kind of thing, and we have to be ready and positioned for that because there are going to be a lot of homes that kind of come on the market.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at in my market that a lot of the sellers have been waiting for something to happen before they list. They like all pushed the pause button last year, right? Last quarter of the year, they stopped listing, even last half of the year because of COVID and everything else was happening in the world. And so I think there's a lot of sellers that are going to be like, it's kind of like ringing the dinner bell. And the dinner bell is prices have hit such a high level. Now they're going to start to come out of the woodwork. And so my messaging right now for all my agents is all these sellers that are sitting out there that have been waiting are going to start to activate this spring. And so there's a huge opportunity, but we got to get to them. We got to build relationships and be positioned to talk to them. In terms of relationship building, kind of a last question here. What is your take on relationship building with clients? How do you approach that?
It's funny. I had an old client actually text me this morning. She's like, Do you work in this neighborhood?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." So I like to be very hands-on with the people, my past clients, and the relationships that I have built. So I just try to stay in contact with them, and it's just a simple text message like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" And it's
Mhm.
just a natural conversation. Relationships and conversations always seem real estate just always kind of seems to come up, and
Right.
I think you have to just be like, well, I'm in real estate, yeah, and be again that educator about what's going on in your market. Don't be sitting in the corner and being pushed aside. Be able to have a conversation about it and back up your position and know where you're coming from, which is true. But the relationships that I've built, again, has been like those that I've naturally attracted, and they just kind of stick and make it happen. I mean, yes, I bring chocolate during the holidays. Yes, I send out a thank you card after we close. Yes, I send my seller clients on vacation with a vacation package that I offer for them as well. So that kind of thing, it just are those touches that we need to come from really the heart. I want to say, they become very natural when we stop focusing on the commission check and really start servicing the people in front of us.
Okay, but I got to ask, what's the seller vacation package? Because now I want to
Oh,
listen. What does that mean exactly?
it's a vacation club. So
Oh,
when my sellers sign with me, and we close, I give them a vacation club package where they can go on any vacation to any of the resorts that are in the vacation club. And it's on me. It's a week's
nice.
vacation. They just have to
Wow.
pay for their flight.
That's a great deal, man. That's incredible. Incredible. Really smart, smart. And I think you're touching on something that's really interesting, which is elevating relationships to friendships, right? And when you talk to the top agents in the country doing 60, 70, 80 million dollars, inevitably they never refer to their clients as clients, they refer to them as friends.
Right.
The best clients are always friends, and friends refer friends, and that's why 80% of our business is referral based, right? And so I think that's right along with what you're talking about, is just, you get up and you're just texting people, and it's just like you're having conversations with friends because they are your friends in a lot of cases.
I find that the client to friend uh, kind of status changes when
Yeah.
you're able to just kind of speak your mind and be like, what you're saying is wrong,
Right.
when you tell your friend that they're wrong and they don't get offended by it. I can truly say that we've definitely moved from client to friend, the friend
That's
zone.
the threshold.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And we can laugh about it and have a conversation about it. And I had a client of mine purchase the house on his own, and I'm like, and I said to him, doctor, what are you doing? You didn't call me? Like, how did you not do that? But in the meantime, then he ultimately gave me one of his investment properties to list.
There you
So
go.
it was a very weird dynamic. But yeah, we're definitely friends now.
I love it. I love it. Well, you've given us a ton of great information to think about, especially coming into the new year. Thank you so much. And how do people find you and kind of touch base with what you're doing?
Yeah, well, they can text Rockstar 1 to 85377 and download my mobile business card. I'd love to give all of your audience listening here, Jim, a free download of my book as well. They can go to rockstaragenttraining.com and they can download the book for free.
Oh, wow. Great. We love the freebies. Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right. Thanks for being on the program. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day.
All right, you too, Jim. Thank you.